At 6:10 every morning, Sarah's alarm went off. Before her feet touched the floor, she was already checking work messages. Sarah was 42 years old and worked in business administration. Her job involved operations, client relationships, deadlines, problem solving, and helping different departments remain organized. Her working day had not officially started, but her mind was already at work. She rarely ate a proper breakfast herself. A large coffee usually had to be enough. At work, Sarah moved from one responsibility to another. A client needed an urgent answer. A report had to be completed. A coworker needed help. A meeting ran longer than expected. Her lunch remained untouched beside her computer. Sarah sat for hours without moving. She ignored the tightness in her neck, delayed bathroom breaks, and told herself she would drink water later. Sometimes that meant eating at 3 in the afternoon. By the time she returned home, she had little energy left. But her working day was not really over. There was dinner to prepare, laundry to finish, family members to care for, and messages that continued arriving long after office hours. Sarah believed she was handling everything. She was tired, but almost every working woman she knew was tired. She had gained weight, but she blamed age. She had headaches, poor sleep, back pain, and periods that seemed heavier than before. But none of these problems felt serious enough to justify a doctor's appointment. Then one afternoon, Sarah felt dizzy while speaking with a client. Her heart seemed to race. She sat down, drank some water, and continued working. A coworker encouraged her to see a doctor. Sarah had already postponed a routine health visit twice, but this time she finally went. The nurse checked her blood pressure and paused. Then she checked it again. Her doctor ordered several basic tests. The results showed that Sarah's blood pressure was too high. Her blood sugar was moving toward the prediabetes range, and her iron level was low. Sarah was shocked. She had not considered herself sick. She was still going to work, looking after her family, and completing everything expected of her. But while Sarah had been taking care of everyone else, her body had been quietly adapting to years of stress, poor sleep, inactivity, rushed meals, and delayed medical care. No single habit had caused all her problems, but several small habits had been working together. This is not only Sarah's story. She represents the office worker who sits all day, the nurse who cannot take a proper break, the teacher who brings work home, the factory worker who repeats the same movement for hours, the retail employee who stands through an entire shift, and the remote worker who never fully leaves the workplace. This is the story of 10 basic health habits working women often ignore, why they ignore them, what may happen inside the body, and how small changes can reduce the risk of serious disease. Most working women already know that sleep, exercise, balanced meals, and medical checkups are important. The problem is not always a lack of knowledge. It is often a lack of time, energy, support, control, or access. Women working in business administration, operations, client relations, and business development often face another hidden challenge. Their work rarely stops at one clearly defined task. They may spend the day solving problems, meeting deadlines, responding to clients, supporting coworkers, and planning what needs to happen next. By the time the working day ends, their mental energy may already be exhausted, even when they have spent most of the day sitting. For many women, this is where work-life balance begins to break down. Exercise is postponed because the schedule is full. Meals are skipped because a client or deadline feels more urgent. Sleep is shortened because work and family responsibilities continue into the evening. Medical appointments are delayed because there never seems to be a convenient day. A woman may complete a full day of paid work and then begin a second shift at home. She may care for children, support an older parent, manage appointments, prepare meals, and carry the invisible responsibility of remembering what everyone needs. Her own health becomes something she plans to handle later, but later keeps moving. It is important not to blame women for this problem. Workplace demands, limited breaks, financial pressure, caregiving duties, unsafe working conditions, and poor access to healthcare all influence health. The World Health Organization recognizes that unhealthy working environments and inadequate support can damage mental health, quality of life, attendance, and work performance. A healthy lifestyle cannot depend entirely on personal discipline. Employers, families, communities, and healthcare systems also have responsibilities. Still, small personal actions can create meaningful protection. They can also support better performance at work. Ignoring health does not make a woman more productive. Poor sleep can reduce attention. Skipped meals may affect energy and concentration. Chronic stress can make decision-making harder, while physical pain can slow down even simple tasks. Healthy habits are not distractions from professional success. They help make long-term performance possible. The first step is understanding what the body may be experiencing. Habit 1. She skips meals and eats whatever is available. Sarah did not decide to follow an unhealthy diet. It happened slowly. She skipped breakfast because mornings were rushed. At work, meetings interrupted lunch. When she finally became hungry, she chose whatever was quick. Pastries from the break room, a bag of chips from a vending machine, fast food on the drive home. Then, because she had eaten so little during the day, she often became extremely hungry at night. This pattern is common among busy workers. The problem is not that eating one pastry or ordering one takeout meal causes disease. The problem develops when rushed eating becomes the normal pattern. A diet built mainly around highly processed foods may contain too much sodium, added sugar, unhealthy fat, and calories, while providing too little fiber, protein, fruit, vegetables, and important nutrients. Inside the body, these patterns may affect several systems. Foods containing refined carbohydrates can be digested quickly. Glucose enters the blood, and the pancreas releases insulin to help move that glucose into the cells. That is a normal process. But when excess calories, weight gain, physical inactivity, genetics, and poor dietary patterns work together, the cells may gradually become less responsive to insulin. The pancreas then needs to produce more insulin to control blood sugar. This condition is called insulin resistance. A person may not feel insulin resistance developing. Early signs can be vague, such as tiredness, increased hunger, or weight gain around the waist. Over time, insulin resistance may contribute to prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. A diet high in sodium may also make blood pressure control more difficult in people who are sensitive to salt. Diets high in saturated fat may raise unhealthy cholesterol levels in some people. Meanwhile, a diet low in fiber may contribute to constipation and make it harder to feel satisfied after meals. Meanwhile, a diet low in fiber may contribute to constipation and make it harder to feel satisfied after meals. The World Health Organization recommends building a healthy diet around a variety of minimally processed foods, including vegetables, fruit, legumes, nuts, and whole grains, while limiting excess sodium, free sugar, and unhealthy fats. The exact diet should still reflect a person's culture, health needs, budget, and activity level. Sarah did not need a perfect meal plan. She started by creating a simple formula. She tried to include a source of protein, a high-fiber carbohydrate, and fruit or vegetables in her main meals. Breakfast could be eggs with whole grain toast and fruit. Lunch could be beans, chicken, fish, tofu, or yogurt combined with vegetables and a whole grain. She also kept a simple snack available, so she did not reach the evening in a state of extreme hunger. Her goal was not to label foods as good or bad. Her goal was to make nourishing food easier to reach before exhaustion made the decision for her. Sarah kept a water bottle on her desk. But by the end of most workdays, it was still almost full. Sometimes she forgot to drink. At other times, she avoided water because leaving her workstation to use the bathroom felt inconvenient. This can happen to teachers, healthcare workers, factory workers, drivers, retail employees, and anyone whose bathroom access is limited by the job. Water supports circulation, temperature control, digestion, and almost every important function in the body. When fluid intake does not replace normal losses, the body begins conserving water. The kidneys produce smaller amounts of more concentrated urine. The mouth may feel dry, and the person may develop thirst, headaches, dizziness, fatigue, or difficulty concentrating. The bowel also removes water from stool. When the body is short of fluid, stool may become harder and more difficult to pass. In people who are already at risk, consistently low fluid intake may also contribute to certain types of kidney stones. However, there is no universal rule that every woman must drink exactly 8 glasses of water. Fluid needs change with body size, whether activity, pregnancy, breastfeeding, medications, health conditions, and the amount of fluid obtained from food. European guidance also recognizes that total water comes from both drinks and food. Needs increase during heat, exercise, illness, pregnancy, and breastfeeding. Sarah stopped trying to drink a huge amount all at once. Instead, she drank some water after waking, kept it visible during work, and took small drinks regularly. She watched the weather, her activity level, and her thirst. Women with heart failure, kidney disease, or another condition requiring fluid limits should follow individual medical advice rather than general hydration guidance. Sarah spent most of her working day sitting. When she returned home, she was too tired to think about exercise. She believed physical activity only counted if she changed clothes, drove to a gym, and completed a difficult workout. Since she did not have time for that, she did nothing. But the human body is designed to move. When large muscles contract, they use glucose for energy. Regular movement also helps maintain muscle strength, joint function, balance, circulation, and heart fitness. When a person remains inactive for long periods, the muscles receive less stimulation. Over time, muscle mass and fitness may decline. The body may use fewer calories, and controlling blood sugar can become more difficult. Inactivity does not guarantee that someone will develop diabetes or heart disease. But when it is combined with weight gain, poor sleep, smoking, an unhealthy diet, age, and family history, the risk can increase. Regular physical activity is associated with a lower risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, some cancers, depression, and loss of physical function. Current American guidance recommends that adults work toward at least 150 minutes of moderate-intensity aerobic activity each week, together with muscle-strengthening activity on at least 2 days. Importantly, some activity is better than none, and the total can be divided into smaller sessions. Sarah stopped waiting for a perfect hour. She began walking for 10 minutes during lunch. She stood while making some phone calls. She took the stairs when it felt safe and practical. At home, she completed short strength sessions 2 or 3 times a week. A woman working in a factory, hospital, store, or warehouse may already spend many hours standing or walking. But occupational movement does not always provide balanced exercise. Repeated lifting, awkward positions, or long periods on the feet can strain the body without improving every area of fitness. Those workers may benefit more from strength, mobility, recovery, and exercises chosen around the demands of their job. The safest plan depends. Stress itself is not always harmful. When the brain detects danger or pressure, it activates the body's stress response. Adrenaline increases heart rate and alertness. Cortisol helps make energy available so the body can respond. This system is useful when a person needs to react quickly. The problem begins when the alarm is activated repeatedly without enough recovery. Chronic stress can disturb sleep, affect appetite, increase muscle tension, and make it harder to concentrate or regulate emotions. Some people eat more when stressed. Others lose their appetite. Some drink alcohol, smoke, or spend hours scrolling because they need temporary relief. Stress can also influence blood pressure and make existing medical conditions harder to manage. It does not mean that every stressed woman will develop heart disease, depression, or anxiety. But long-lasting workplace and caregiving stress may contribute to poor mental health, emotional exhaustion, sleep disturbance, and unhealthy coping behaviors. WHO guidance emphasizes that mental health at work cannot be protected only through individual breathing exercises. Employers also need to address unreasonable workloads, harassment, discrimination, lack of control, job insecurity, unsafe conditions, and inadequate support. Sarah began with something small. Before opening her laptop, she took several slow breaths and decided which tasks were truly urgent. During stressful moments, she relaxed her shoulders and extended her exhale. After work, she stopped checking routine messages after a set time whenever her position allowed it. She also spoke honestly with her family about sharing responsibilities. Stress management was not about pretending that difficult situations did not exist. It was about reducing unnecessary pressure, creating boundaries, and seeking help before stress became a crisis. Persistent sadness, panic, loss of interest, severe anxiety, or thoughts of self-harm require professional support. Mental health care is health care. When Sarah was exhausted, personal care became the easiest thing to delay. She rushed through brushing her teeth. She postponed dental visits. During long shifts, she sometimes delayed changing menstrual products because taking a break felt difficult. She also ignored the fact that her periods had become heavier. Personal hygiene should not be presented as a measure of a woman's value or cleanliness. The body is not dirty because it sweats, menstruates, or produces normal discharge. The purpose of routine care is comfort, prevention, and noticing changes early. Inside the mouth, bacteria can form a sticky film called plaque. If plaque is not regularly removed, it can contribute to tooth decay and gum inflammation. Bleeding gums, persistent bad breath, tooth pain, or loose teeth should not be ignored. The American Dental Association recommends brushing twice daily for 2 minutes with fluoride toothpaste and cleaning between the teeth each day. Individual dental needs may differ. Menstrual care also matters. Pads, tampons, cups, and period underwear should be used and changed according to product directions and personal flow. Hands should be washed before and after changing products when possible. A tampon should not be left in longer than recommended because of the rare but serious risk of toxic shock syndrome. But menstrual health involves more than hygiene. Very heavy bleeding, severe pain, bleeding between periods, unusual discharge, bleeding after sex, or a major change in the menstrual cycle may signal a health problem. Heavy periods can contribute to iron deficiency anemia. This means the body does not have enough iron to produce healthy red blood cells. Possible signs include unusual tiredness, weakness, shortness of breath, dizziness, headaches, pale skin, or a racing heart. Conditions such as fibroids, endometriosis, hormonal changes, bleeding disorders, pregnancy complications, or perimenopause may affect bleeding. A medical professional should evaluate concerning symptoms rather than assuming they are normal. Sarah's low iron was not caused by being busy, but being busy had helped her ignore the warning signs. Once she understood that, she stopped treating her period, dental health, skin problems, and other private symptoms as embarrassing interruptions. They were part of her health. Sarah often said she would go to bed early. Then she remembered the laundry. She checked one more email. She watched videos because late at night was the only time that belonged to her. By the time she put down her phone, it was almost midnight. Her alarm still rang at 6:10. Sleep is not an empty period when the body shuts down. During sleep, the brain processes information, regulates emotion, and supports memory. The body repairs tissues and coordinates hormones involved in hunger, stress, immune function, and blood sugar control. When sleep is repeatedly shallow,